Time now for US media megastar Megyn Kelly, who is fresh off the back of an exclusive sit-down and lots of time, actually, with the man bidding to become the next US president. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, the self-proclaimed woke slayer who stood up against COVID tyranny, was until recently Donald Trump's main rival for the 2024 Republican nomination. The Donald still the overwhelming frontrunner for a second crack at the White House, despite news today that a federal grand jury is considering charging him over the January 6 riots. It comes as polling from the New York Times shows Trump crushing every other Republican candidate for the nomination and tied with Biden in the general election. So this is the moment DeSantis told Megyn that he would prove Trump's savior if he became president.
Given your views on the weaponization of government, would you commit to pardoning him on any federal charges against him?
Well, what I've said is very simple. I'm going to do what's right for the country. I don't think it would be good for the country to have an almost 80-year-old former president go to prison.
So that's a yes.
It doesn't seem like it would be a good thing. And I look at, Ford, pardoned Nixon, took some heat for it. But at the end of the day, it's like, do we want to move forward as a country, or do we want to be mired in these past controversies? And I think the public wants a fresh start.
Oh, Megyn, it was a great interview. So many headlines. Fascinated to know about the mindset of DeSantis. But what do you think the chances are of a President DeSantis pardoning a jailed Donald Trump, given where the polls are at?
They may be getting a lot better in about 12 minutes, because Donald Trump just posted on his social media, I hear that deranged Jack Smith, that's the special counsel going after him, in order to interfere with the presidential election of 2024, will be putting out yet another fake indictment of your favorite president, me, at 5 p.m. Eastern time. That means in 12 minutes. The grand jury's been meeting.
And this is over January 6th? Is that right?
Yes. Yes. He literally just posted it seconds ago. So this is breaking news that he believes the grand jury has indicted him over January 6th, something we weren't sure whether it would happen or not. He's posting that he's been given the heads up. It happened, and that it's going to come down any minute now. Now, Trump got everybody wound up about this about a week, 10 days ago, and it didn't happen. And what happened there was Jack Smith added other charges to the Mar-a-Lago documents case, saying Trump withheld improperly documents belonging to the people. This is something entirely different. This is how he behaved on and around January 6th in contesting the election loss. And this is a much more dangerous case in some ways, Dan, if in fact Jack Smith is getting an indictment.
So Megyn, look, I know you know everything about the American judicial system. Realistic possibility that he could be imprisoned before the election?
On this case, yes. Yeah. Here's the problem. You got the New York case against him involving improper record keeping of his hush payment to a porn star. That's not going anywhere, but it's going to be in front of a jury that hates him. But even if he's convicted, there's not going to be jail time. All right. So that's kind of a nothing, relatively speaking. Then comes the Mar-a-Lago documents case, saying you took classified and other documents with you that you weren't entitled to, and then you lied about them, and then you didn't produce them when a subpoena was handed to you. And so one thing on top of the other, 39, almost 40 charges now, because they just revised it. He's in real trouble in that case, but he's going to be in front of a jury that should be Trump friendly down in Florida. And I don't think that case is going to trial before the November election. They set it for May. I just don't think it's going to go off in May. It's very easy to get these things delayed. I predict that one goes down after the election, and he's got a good shot given the jury pool. However, the two ones that are outstanding, Dan, are January 6th, which would be tried in front of a D.C. jury, and potentially charges in Georgia, which would be state charges that he could not be pardoned on, which would be tried in Georgia. And both of those could be on what we call rocket dockets that are going to go fast. Neither the judge nor the prosecutor in either one of those cases will be prone to delay, and both could potentially, if they get charged ASAP, could get tried before the election, and both could require serious jail time.
Okay. Personally, I think that's crazy, but putting that to one side, it doesn't preclude him from running, does it, Megyn? I mean, if you look at the polls, is there not an argument to say, actually, the Republicans are even more likely to get behind him? I mean, are we seriously facing the possibility of Trump being the nominee and running from behind bars?
there will be such a backlash against this system and Jack Smith if that happens, and Joe Biden's Justice Department, which is doing this to him. If they take the man who's leading the Republican contest for its nominee by 40 points and put him in jail over what? Over comments that people should march peacefully to the Capitol on January 6th. I realize people are mad about January 6th. People are being held criminally responsible right now. But Trump is not criminally responsible for January 6th. The people who hurt police officers, who defaced the Capitol, different story, and they're being held accountable. What happened down in Georgia, saying I need to find 11,000 votes, that's not enough. This is absurd what's happening to him, Dan. It's absurd. The Mar-a-Lago documents case is the best case against him legally, but it's almost the mirror image of what Hillary Clinton did, including defying a subpoena, if they can prove it. And she wasn't charged.
No, of course not.
So how does he get charged? There are two standards of justice, and the American people know it. And this is the problem for the Republicans right now, because he's leading by 40 points. They want Trump. They like DeSantis. The New York Times poll concluded this week. They like DeSantis, but they love Trump. And the one they love, it could very well be in prison soon. And that is one of the reasons why the one they like, DeSantis, continues plodding along, despite the fact that the polls are not in his favor right now.
Well, yeah, I was going to ask you about that, Megyn, because, of course, you've been wanting this interview for a long time. For a long time, he didn't want to sit down with you. When he did, it sounds like DeSantis gave you loads of time, both on camera and off camera, on a real charm offensive. So what's his strategy? Is his strategy to literally see the Trump campaign implode and hope at that point Republican voters give him a second chance?
So he won't say that on camera, but it has to be. It has to be. Why he's kept himself behind closed doors and in conservative safe space media is beyond me. He gave a very nice interview. You know, as you saw, I asked him very challenging questions throughout and pressed him. We went deeper, and he handled it with ease. You know, maybe could have done better a couple things here or there if you really wanted to nitpick the guy. But I thought I would give him an A on how he handled that interview. So why have they been keeping him wrapped up? There's no point to it, especially with somebody like me who is not out to kill him, right? I'm not going to ask him unfair questions. It makes no sense to me. I think he just got on this sort of belief that conservatives hate the media and anybody who's not declared themselves pro DeSantis is not to be trusted. Well, I'm not pro or anti DeSantis. I'm not pro or anti Trump either, for the record. I am having some real problems with the sitting president of the United States, and I'll be honest about that. It would be hard for me not to spend an entire interview with Joe Biden beating up on him over the many things he's done. However, on the GOP side, obviously, it was very fair, and he handled it just fine. So I really hope this is the beginning of a new strategy for him in making himself more visible.